think we can grind it out for some period of time. And in fact, to be successful, you have to. I mean, there's no shortcut to success. It looks like, 10 years of hard work, because our thoughts and feelings determine everything we do, how we do it, and the impact we have out there, and then the results we're able to obtain or we fail to obtain. Success is really, I think, sort of juggling these various balls and attending to each. And one of them has to be how we manage and lead ourselves with inside of ourselves. It's not about the information, it's about the application of information. We really have to come to know ourselves. We need to be able to hear ourselves more fully, trust ourselves. To what extent can I trust my own inner counsel? And then will I have the courage to act upon it?
Welcome back to the Hustle and Grind podcast, the show where we dig into why real entrepreneurs trade comfort for conviction. This isn't about vanity metrics or overnight success. It's about the stories behind building a reputation that actually matters. I'm your host, Andrew, keynote architect, platform builder, and fellow founder in the trenches. Today, I'm sitting down with Suzanne Biro, the founder of Inner Life Leadership and one of the most sought-after coaches for CEOs and C-suite leaders. For over 20 years, Suzanne has worked with executives around the world, helping them lead with more clarity, impact, and fulfillment. She's also the host of the Deep Fear podcast, a TEDx speaker, and the creator of leadership programs used by some of the world's top companies. If you've ever felt the tension between high performance and personal peace, this one's for you. Let's get into it. So, Suzanne, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So the first question I always like to start off with is, you've got about 2 decades of experience working with senior level leaders. And so what is your ninja skill? What's that one thing, what does working with senior level leaders mean to you?
That's such a great question. I grew up working in my mom's barbershop. Mm-hmm. And I think the number one thing is actually generally caring about another person's success. I mean, I generally care about how my clients feel as they live their life and they handle the 1,000,001 things required of them. It's a very demanding, overwhelming, often a thankless job in many ways. And so I generally care about how they are doing. And I think that's the difference that really makes a difference for people. They want to feel seen and heard just like the rest of us.
Yeah. Especially when you're working with senior level leaders. And we were talking about that earlier, just before we started, that there comes a point when your experience is so far outside. We were talking about billionaires. Your experience is so far outside of most people that relating to people and having something to talk about and having people to talk to, who understand what that level entails is really difficult.
Yeah, and I think it's having some time that is strictly about you. I mean, when you're leading at that level, everyone wants a piece of you in so many different ways, and your entire life is about focusing on how to best assist others, to give them all the direction, the acknowledgement, the tools, the insight, the communication, the coaching. Then if you're a parent, you do that as well. If you're a caregiver to your aging parents, you're doing that. You're also concerned about your own health. And when is your life ever about you? So coaching can be a time where it is purely about you and what you care about and what is happening for you. And I think that's just really invaluable. It doesn't happen often unless you set it up. You set up your support system for that kind of thing.
And I think it's something, especially if you're building companies, I've done this, and I will completely, full transparency, fess up to it, that you forget about yourself. I mean, I've gotten to the point where burnout hit and I'm wondering what's happening because I'm just used to going, right? And I think it's something that, especially with, again, senior level leaders, high performers, they just, I need to go. There's this drive that says, I need to make this happen. And sometimes, especially building a business, there's some financial stress that happens. Building a business is not for the weak. And if you go into it with any sort of issues, you're going to have to sort them out, especially when it comes to lead flow and things like that. What have you seen as far as your leaders are concerned? And how would you address that with a leader that's like, look, something's wrong. I need to change.
Yeah, my grandfather he was a great businessman for his time, and he used to say the shoemaker has no shoes. I think we can grind it out for some period of time. And in fact, to be successful, you have to. I mean, there's no shortcut to success. It looks like, 10 years of hard work. And that's very useful up until a point. And then, as you say, you don't even notice that you're burnt out, or you don't actually want to do it anymore. And so that's a place where that mentality or way of operating breaks down. And now what we need is some level of balance, which is really hard for very successful people because they're incredibly intrinsically motivated. I mean, they're in love with the idea of creation and delivering exceptional value. And so the idea of scheduling in time, like white space or some sort of leisure, is not easy for them. But because we live in a human body, you can only drive, beat the mule so much. And at some point, in order to sustain success and real success, you have to now do this thing that actually is maybe easy for many of us, but not easy for very driven, successful people to take a pause, to look after their health, to slow down so they can continue to go fast. So I think, it's just the discipline that this will be hard for you. And here's some things, and we're not asking you to not be driven in the way that you're driven, but you won't sustain yourself for the long run, or you'll be out on, riddled with anxiety, or you'll have heart palpitations and have a heart attack. So you won't actually be able to do what you really want to do. So let's bring in a little bit more reasonable balance that just makes sense.
The one key phrase that helped me, because I'm on the other end of burnout and have just had somebody call me out on this at one point. So personally, this hits because I understand what that is, and what a high performer in burnout is different. And for me, it was somebody had said to me once, you have two choices. You slow down, or your body will do it for you, and it's going to do it at the worst possible moment.
Yeah.
And that was a realization that just kind of said, wait a minute, something's unbalanced. Because I'm an entrepreneur. I joke about changing my 9 to 5 or 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., which really just means that our work-life balance is very different. Like, I am sending emails on 3 p.m. on a Sunday, and that doesn't seem weird to me because I'm passionate about what I do and I want to spread that with everyone else, and I want to do, that thing that I do really well. Talk to me a little bit about how you help people through that transition. First of all, I think, what are those key indicators? Because I think a lot of times we think it's weakness. We think it's, I'll just hustle out through this. And what are some of those indicators when there's actually, there's the hustle, the 10 years to build a company, and then there's actually an issue that you need to address? Like, what are some of those indicators look like? We'll start there.
Like a burnout kind of, or well, I think it's kind of some of what we just spoke about. I mean, it's just I think it's the quiet feeling of like, God, is this worth it? I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. Do I really want to do this? Or health breaks, our health breaks down in various ways, or our relationships break down, or we blow up our family. Then we've kind of lost everything we ever care about, and so success is really, I think, sort of juggling these various balls and attending to each. And one of them has to be how we manage and lead ourselves inside of ourselves, because we're going for sustained success. And so, indicators are both external and then also internal, the whisperings within our mind of like, how much longer can I keep this up?
Yeah. And again, I think the signs are hard to see. And what would you say to somebody like that? What do they need to do? What are the action steps that they need to take at that point to stop for a second, identify, and how do you move forward while still operating a company and managing all of these balls in the air?
Yeah, I honestly think it's so tailored to each of us. And so it really is, why coaching is so valuable is it's a tailored personal relationship with another human being that is a witness to you, and really drawing it out. Like, when is a question I often ask is like, when did you feel most like you, like most alive, most connected, most inspired? And it's usually when they launched their company. When they were first, bootstrapping it, and there was some sense of like joy and camaraderie and fun. And some way along the way, we might lose pieces of that, or lose pieces of ourselves or our values, or routines that really served us. And so it's like identifying usually just one or two. It need not take much time, but it's some way that we revisit who we were, who we've always been when life felt most we felt most like ourselves, and life felt most like what we want it to feel like. Because I mean, we're doing all this to make the human world better for everyone. I mean, that's our products and services. That's why you lead and you create products and services to make human life better. While we do that, we can make our own personal life hell. So we need to, like, first things first, what makes my own life better? What makes the life of my team better? And then how does that extend into the marketplace so that we don't lose our way? So I think it's really personal. I think it's tailored. Some clients say something really small, like small daily habits. Like, I just feel better if I stay on top of things like flossing my teeth, and having a good bedtime routine. And sometimes it's as simple as that. Other times it's like, there's too many days that I don't have time to see my kids. I want to have breakfast with my kids, or I want to be there, at least 3 nights a week for dinner. Things like that if we just schedule it in, as we're masterful at scheduling everything else in,
Yep.
And be disciplined to honor that so that we have sustained excellence. So I think it's small, but I think it's really personal.
Mm-hmm. For me, I make my bed every morning. Like, even if I'm traveling, my bed is made as soon as I'm out of it. And if everything else goes wrong in my day, I have one win every morning. And I think it's that
Yes.
ritual. Yep.
And what is that for you? Like, what does it signal to you when you make your bed? Like, what is that? What do you say to yourself about that?
I've accomplished something. And it's a small win. It's that little dopamine hit. And I look at my bed throughout the day because I work from home. My office is right next to my bedroom. I look at that bed every day and it's made. It's
Mm.
not perfect. It's made. I mean, things are smoothed over. It's there. And for me, it's like, okay, I did one thing right today. That's all I needed just to kind of launch,
I
the day.
love the simplicity of that.
Yeah.
I think we must live up to our own standards in our life, and there's small things that really do matter because of how we feel about ourselves, and we never escape how we feel about ourselves. So we do these small things that we know we need to do, and when we know, I call them daily disciplines. Like, what are the 5 to 7 best practices that make a really great day for you, and that you must honor? And if we, I aim to live mine every day. If I can't, that's okay. I know that I'm off track, and I know how to get back on track. But those things like, make your bed, for me, pay attention to the news so I understand what's happening in the global marketplace and what does that mean for my clients, having time to exercise. Just creates clarity, mental clarity for me. And an escape from the constant mental noise of carrying a lot of clients in my head. So things like that, those things really matter, don't they?
Yeah, they really do. And there's this almost addiction to, I want to learn Alex Hermosi's morning routine and I want to do all of this stuff. And there's some points where when you're building something, you don't have the bandwidth. You need to come up with something creative. So, it's one of those situations where, you just the simple things. It doesn't have to be an incredibly complicated morning routine. It needs to just be something where you get these wins and there's something behind it. At least that's what I found.
Yes, and I found for clients, what I like to talk about is chapters of life. Like, there's a chapter of life, for example, when you have a newborn baby, that is going to be very different than other chapters. And so you want to be realistic about what is this chapter and enjoy it. I mean, it's so precious. It's so fleeting. This too will change. But what does balance look like here? What does sleep look like when you have, small children? It's very different. So let's set some realistic. And then, 2 or 3 years down the road, it's going to adjust again and you'll be able to do more because you won't be, endlessly sleep deprived, etc.
My niece is turning 12 here in about a month, and it's interesting. She's getting to that teenage years, and it's been fun to kind of watch the progression. There's different phases and, different things that she's into. And I don't know, she's kind of getting to the goth phase right now. I don't know how I feel about that, but I'm going to let her do her thing.
Yeah, that's a good dad. Good for you.
It's all different, and now you can start to see the personality coming out and she's developing and it's really this interesting world. So yeah, there are phases to everything. And I think in business also there's phases. There's the grind phase, then there's the, once you're over 1 million, now you're out to and that's systems and structures and things like that. So it's interesting it's interesting all of the phases. Right? Yeah.
You communicate something I think is really important,
Yeah.
is the ability to enjoy each phase, because we are each age only once.
Yeah.
And why not? There's a wonderful quote by Jonathan Swift that says, "May you enjoy all the days of your life."
I like that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that. So let's switch a little bit because I'd love to hear, and that's part of what this podcast is. How did you get into what you're doing? Like, what was the backstory? What was the series of events that caused you to get to this point where you spent the better part of 2 decades coaching senior level leaders?
Yeah, so I've always been interested in how people feel. So even as a small child, I was always paying attention to how someone would say a joke, but it was really sarcastic, meant to hurt someone else, and then I would go and try to save that person. And so I think I pay attention most to how people feel. So I went on then to study psychology in university, but my mother wasn't sure that a university education would pay off because I was the first member of my family to attend university. So she's like, you have to learn the family trade, which was to be a barber. So I spent 13 years working as a barber to put myself through school. I did a TED talk on this, TEDx talk, and I really feel like I learned more about what I do for a living by being a barber than I did from all my 10 years of formal education. Simply because I would have company presidents, Supreme Court judges, very, very successful, mostly men because it was a barbershop, come in my chair and I had them for half an hour, and you're touching them and you're in their space, and you really have to pay attention to the subtlety of like nonverbal human communication. But then, I did went and studied psychology, worked for a large advertising agency as an executive for several years because it sounded cool. And then I came across coaching by hiring my own coach, and I thought, oh man, this is what I want to do. It really was fundamentally eye-opening and changed how I saw myself, what I believed was possible for me, and my ability to experience connection and joy. And so I went and did the coach training, and here I am 24 years later.
Awesome. I love that you say that. I just went to an advertising agency to just because it seemed like it was cool. That's how I started my education career. Was I was in a call center. I decided 3 months into working on it, hey, I want to go do this, and because it seemed cool.
Yeah.
It's amazing how that works.
Ad agencies, if you've ever been in one, at least at that time, were like sexy, cool. We had this like bright blue floor. The law firm down the hall was always like, what do you guys do in there? You guys all dress in black and you got this cool electric floor. I mean, it was very sexy. Just wasn't the profession for me.
Exactly. I think it's a profession that leaves you with something, though, because advertising and marketing, you can always use that somewhere, but it's one of those things that's kind of interesting, though. So interesting. So I'd like you to tell me a little bit about your company, the Inner Life Leadership. Tell me a little bit about what that is, especially about your app, because you do have an app as well, and it's a really good app. I've had a chance to kind of take a look at it, and there's a lot of valuable information.
Oh, thank you for doing that. Yeah, so I wrote the app about 2 years ago. I take every client through a very similar journey, and I wanted a place to house what that journey was, and then to have some way to offer it to so many more people that I can actually work with. I can only work with a handful of clients every year. And so Inner Life Leadership is my perspective on how we develop as human beings and what actually really matters to us as human beings. I mean, the only place we live is inside of ourselves. And so we don't give enough credit to what are we playing out within ourselves? What are we focused on? What are our thoughts and what are our feelings? Because our thoughts and feelings determine everything we do, how we do it, and the impact we have out there, and then the results we're able to obtain or we fail to obtain. So everything starts in here. So the app is the most concise, usable way that I can take someone through the key things that I take almost every client through and have done for 24 years.
Interesting. Cool. And I think it's one of the things that we hear now about, everyone has an app and that sort of a thing, but it's interesting that you're also using that in conjunction. As a trainer, I like this. As somebody in the learning industry, we like to have the foundation first and then take them on the actual execution, and that's the coaching end of things. And it's a system that really works very well and a formula that works very well. So, cheers for doing that and really helping the people to be able to do their thing. I like it because it's digestible too. It's in an app. If I have a few minutes, I can do it now. It just gives me a moment. It gives a lot more flexibility too. So I like that.
Thank you. Well, my great hope is that it's a way to connect with ourselves, for users to connect with themselves, because we have so much noise coming at us.
Yeah.
And I think there's there's almost no new information about how to be successful, live a truly successful life. I mean, it was said in the 15th century, by ancient philosophers. But it's not about the information, it's about the application of information. We really have to come to know ourselves, what plays out within me, how do I think of myself, and is that way that I'm thinking of myself and the world leading to the kind of results that I hope to achieve? Not only tangible results, but do I feel the way I want to feel in my life? Like, what relationship have I rehearsed with all of life? Because usually it's if X, then Y. When I get this, then I will have this, or finally be okay, enough, wealthy, successful. But if we rehearse that relationship, that's the relationship. Our brain rehearses that relation, and that is the continuous relationship we have with life. We always need something more. I think it's a terrible way to live, because we can't we just enjoy here and be in a state of presence? And I don't think we can unless we actually do this work. The mind will always chase the next best thing out there, and what we're seeking for is to be here inside.
Especially for us entrepreneurs that are very ADHD, and shiny object syndrome is a thing, and that's our superpower. We're really good at problem solving. It gives us, I heard it put as the world's greatest race car, like the world's fastest race car, but the brakes are terrible and the steering's awful. And I think being present, at least for me, that's really helped. Just being present in this moment. I don't care what's going to happen later on. I don't care if that invoice is late. I don't care if this project is going sideways. What do I need to do right now, to move things forward? And sometimes in all that chaos, it just helps. What do I need? What's my next step? I gave my mom that advice years ago, and she just repeated it back to me a couple of days ago because she needed that. What's that next step that I need? I don't need 1,000 steps. I need one.
And if we do this one with presence, we don't make a whole bunch of work for ourselves out there.
Yeah.
By constantly sort of we're never here, so we don't do a great job here, and then we make so much work down the road. There really is something palpable about being with someone who's actually present and pays attention and actually hears.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. So you also have a podcast, the Deep Fear podcast, that is getting up and going. And I wanted to hear a little bit about what's the background for the Deep Fear podcast?
It's a great question. I thought I should talk about something I know something about. Fear. So they say, write or speak about things you know something about. I think human beings behave very poorly when we behave out of fear, and we behave really effectively when we lead from love, faith, just connection. But there's so much fear inherent in the human experience. I mean, this is a terrifying experience, and most of us feel that. I mean, we know how this story ends. We all get old and we die, and the people we love get old and die. And there's, and then you couple that with being a parent, you couple that with loved ones getting sick and caring for them, and then you couple that with senior level leadership and being responsible for thousands of livelihoods, and on a global scale, political landscapes, ever-changing marketplace dynamics, and billions of dollars at stake. And there's a lot of fear. And so I think it's really useful for us to look at fear. It's really healthy, like welcome, hello fear, my old friend, and go, what's here? So, because I think when we shine a light on it, it doesn't play out in the background in low grade ways that make us miss out on all the joy in our lives. And so I think it's really useful to look at how do we hold back from having real conversations about sharing what we really think, feel, and want. And when we do that, we bring ourselves more fully to the table. Right? There's a reason why we talk about transparency and authenticity in leadership. And that sounds really simple, but I think being ourselves is the hardest thing in the world. There's so many forces upon us. One, we sometimes can't even hear the call of our own inner voice. Other people have drowned it out, or society tells us this, or we know something's wrong, but maybe they know something we don't. And we need to be able to hear ourselves more fully, trust ourselves. To what extent can I trust my own inner counsel? And then will I have the courage to act upon it? And that's leadership.
And I think those are the key things is in the entrepreneurial world that we have to deal with is that the trust factor. I've had massive issues with that, just trusting that things are going to be okay because I have it all set up. And the fear and the lack of authenticity is something I see in my speaking clients where they'll first come in. I'll see a keynote that they've given, and it's more, okay, this is a great sales pitch, but this doesn't make me connect with you. There's something more here. Let's dig a little bit deeper and start to see. Let's see the authentic you, because what you're selling isn't something that it's not something that's 100% unique. I want them to really get to know you personally and connect with you personally, because that's where that real good, it's not going to be transactional. You're actually going to help people and to build that cool thing that you want to build. So I think it's nice that you're bringing out kind of this fear and showing people what it is and how to handle it. So that's an amazing feat. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're all on our own journey to becoming most fully ourselves. And we know it when we're in the presence of it, don't we? I mean, when we can just, it's palpable. We feel it, and it's like, I think that's what we admire. And usually to get to higher and higher levels of success, you have to have done your inner work. You have to, Aristotle, know thyself. But, it doesn't come without a great deal of grappling within ourself and pain, is my experience. So, turn towards the fear.
Exactly. Because the good stuff's on the other side of that fear.
Yeah.
Let it kind of stop us and keep us low, or we can just say, you know what, I'm just going to do this and push through.
Yeah.
So it's been awesome talking to you. But there's always one last question that I'll ask, and that what is one book or podcast that has had a significant impact on your life?
I will share one of each. I think the best podcast in the world right now, won't come to a surprise to many, is The Diary of a CEO. Okay. I think Stephen Bartlett has done an exceptional job of bringing together some of the world's best, most educated, experienced leaders on every topic. And we, for free, can listen in and learn like never before. So Diary of a CEO is a podcast. Book, Michael Singer's work, Untethered Soul and the Surrender Experiment. If there was just one Untethered Soul, his online course too is probably the single best online course I've ever taken. It's only a series of like 8 videos, and it literally is some of the most important work I think we can ever do to get everything we ever wanted. And I wish it was mandatory for every human being. I'm in no way connected to Michael Singer, but his work is really some of the best I've ever come across. And I, like I'm sure all your listeners, every year I invest heavily in my own learning and spend thousands of dollars on a course or a coach or something. And by far, if there was one thing, Michael Singer, The Untethered Soul.
And you also have a book that's coming out here in the near future as well. And so do you want to talk a little bit about it? And people can find that in the show notes as well. We'll leave a link so that they can take a look as well.
Sure. It should be ready in the second half of 2025. It's called This Could Be Everything, for anyone who wants to make their tomorrow better than today. So it's essentially the very best, very similar to my app, of everything I've taken every single client through. And the book is meant to be the application of ideas, and so that you actually go through this book and it will hand walk you through the work so that you can take a big idea and then go apply it in your life and in your leadership, and each idea will build upon itself. And then by the time you finish the book, my promise is that life will feel differently for you and everything will improve, because you will have improved everything on the inside.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, Suzanne, it's been an awesome chat. Thank you so much for being on the show today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It's just a delight.
Thanks for tuning into the Hustle and Grind podcast, where we unpack what it really takes to build something that matters. If today's conversation hit home, do me a favor. Share it with someone who's in the trenches too. And if you're building your own brand, platform, or message and want help turning that story into serious authority, head over to theauthorityforge.com to see how we can help. Until next time, keep showing up, keep shipping, and keep chasing the work that sets you on fire. I'm Andrew, and this was the Hustle and Grind podcast.